Hello, my name is Eric Norman. This is my vlog about the business I run called PurelyFunctional.tv, where I teach closure. So I make videos and sell them online, and there's a bunch of other stuff I do too that is kind of behind the scenes. And I share here what I talk about or what I'm thinking about, what decisions I'm making, stuff like that. Okay, Closure Sync. I got the first video up. I had a meeting on Tuesday, and it went well. That was the meeting to get video hosting, and I'm excited about it because I feel like they're still small enough and early enough that I can just like shoot them an email and get a good answer to my question. And the interface is really rough, but that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that the video gets played and that it's not going to go down if a million people watch it. And, you know, they're working on transcripts and the subtitles and stuff like that. It's still not full featured, but, you know, that's fine. I don't know if I'll be able to do this for, like in the current state, I don't know if I'll be able to switch to them for my regular videos. The conference videos, it's fine, but for other stuff, I don't know. I like the control that it gives me of stuff, but, you know, at the same time, it would be nice to just upload a video and have it transcoded to a million different formats, and the player can detect what format is needed and stuff like that. I've spent a lot of time re-rendering these videos to try to get them smaller, and that's what I would be paying for, right? So even if, yes, the hosting is cheaper, if it's not going to do all that work for me, it's not really worth it. Okay, but that said, like, the cost of hosting is a big deal. I'm paying too much in Wistia right now, and that sucks. Okay, and they'll get there, so I'm not worried about that. Right, so the reason I didn't do a vlog yesterday was I woke up and read my email, and there were about 30 emails that were like, oh, I think this is a billing mistake. And so what had happened was, this email is something that gets sent out by Restrict Content Pro, which is the plugin that I use to manage the membership subscriptions. And so I emailed them and got them involved in it. And it turns out that in an upgrade, they changed the meaning of the expired status. So it used to be that the only way you would expire was you like your payment would stop going through, and so we haven't received a payment in like 2 weeks, so we've expired your account. It's now inactive, and you're done, right? Like, you can't access your stuff. And so I was using that as a signal, as a way to know, hey, this person needs to go check on their credit card, right? Update their billing info. So I had that in the email, like, hey, the reason I'm emailing you is I tried to make a payment and it didn't work, and so go check on your billing info. Here's a link, and I'm gonna keep trying, but you know, we've tried already and it doesn't work. And then I would also switch them to a drip campaign where I showed them, or like, you know, I guess every few days I would send them another email reminding them that we still haven't been able to process their payment. And until finally they lose access, right? Well, it turns out that wasn't the way they were thinking about it. And so in this upgrade, what they did was they made it so everyone who was canceled after, so when you cancel, it's a different status, and it's an action that the member can take. They can cancel their account. You still have access up until the end of the period you paid for. So if you paid for the whole month and you cancel 1 week into the month, you still have 3 weeks left on that you can access your account. And so you would cancel, and so you would be canceled and you would still have access. So your status is canceled, but you're okay for watching videos. And then you would just be canceled forever. That was the original idea. But now they've changed it so that after that end date of the period you paid for, if you're canceled, so like your expiration date, it switches you over to expired. In the hopes that like this is better because now it's a unified view. Canceled means you have manually canceled but you still have access, and expired means you no longer have access in all cases. And so because it was an upgrade, and I think the upgrade happened automatically. I don't remember upgrading, but like 250 people who were canceled on the same day got switched over to expired. They had been canceled for years, and they got switched over to expired, which triggered an email, which triggered this campaign. And so they all got this email saying, hey, we're still trying to bill your account, and like please check on your details. And so it's confusing to them because they're like, I thought I canceled this, please don't try to bill me again. And that was like a year ago. Why are you still sending me this? So anyone who replied, I emailed them back with a reassurance that I haven't been trying to bill. I did double check on every person that emailed me back, and just explain like, sorry, this was a fluke, it was a bug. It's just an email, like it's not like we've been billing you. And then of course I had to go into Drip and remove them all from that campaign. Just remove everybody. And there's probably people in that campaign that should be in the campaign, but I removed them just because I couldn't tell who was who anymore. And then I also removed the code so that if someone gets canceled, if someone is canceled and then moves to expired, they don't get the email. They don't get put on that campaign. And I talked to the team at Restrict Content Pro about, like, how do I know that there was a payment failure? How do I send them an email about this? And apparently there is an email in there. I guess part of the upgrade is that there's a new email. So I gotta go check that out and make sure that the wording is what I want it to be. Okay, but then it turns out that one person doesn't email me, but disputes a charge. So I go in and look at what happened. So this email that they got, I think they got an email. I'm not sure now, but they had been billed for an extra year. One payment of a year in February, and they had canceled. And it's true, they had canceled, and for some reason it had not gotten back to Stripe. The cancellation did not make it into Stripe. And so Stripe was billing them just because it's automatic, and it billed them for an extra year, and they looked at it and they disputed it. I don't know if it's related to these other emails or not, but it happened on the same day, and so I think that maybe it was, that they were expired. So it was canceled. It must have been. It was canceled in Restrict Content Pro on my site, And so then they got moved over to expired just like everybody else. It sent them an email and then put them on this campaign to send more emails. And so they went and checked, and they found that I had billed them in February of this year for a whole year. So they just went right to their bank and disputed the charge instead of emailing me, which, they're in their right to do. I wish they had emailed me, and because I would have refunded them. I would have, made it right. I would have, maybe even given them the year for free, right? Because when they dispute, it goes against your account. It is sort of I guess if you have too many disputes, I don't have many. I think this might be the second dispute I've had in several years, so it's not a big deal. But when someone disputes, I think it's a signal to credit card companies about fraud. So if you have too many, they start to distrust you as a processor. Anyway, I'm not worried about that. But it charges you money. So like a dispute costs $15, right? So just like, it's also not very human. It's like you're going through this interface and just saying, that's wrong charge. And I would gladly have apologized and everything. And so I did apologize because I knew who it was. And I sent them an email like, you're totally in the right, sorry for this, it was my fault. But then it just made me totally distrust Restrict Content Pro. I mean, I trust it enough to use it, but I also think that something needs to be double checking it. Because this is not the first time that I have noticed that it gets out of sync with Stripe. And I think there's certain cases that come up often enough where it does. Often enough meaning like, if I've had, several hundred customers, and I've seen 3 or 4 of these cases where that was still charging even though they canceled their account. So a lot of it has to do with like the way Restrict Content Pro works. Like if there was a bug at the time that they canceled that did not cancel the Stripe, then even if they fix the bug, this person will be billed forever, and I won't know about it. So it's not even a matter of like, fix your bugs, right? They might be fixing them faster than anybody else, but they had one and someone canceled at that wrong time, and now the system is out of sync, right? So I first was like, oh man, I'm just gonna have to go through these guys manually, every single one, double check each one. And I started doing that, and I must have gotten 100 people in when I was like, this is not scalable. Like it's not. So at first I was like, oh, I don't want to do this, I'm lazy, right? But then I realized that it's so error prone as a human to go through each one of these and click and open and look, and so you get into like a trance where you're not really paying attention and you might miss something. So it's not just about laziness. I need something a lot more reliable than that. So I started writing a system that downloads all the active Stripe subscriptions and makes sure that they belong to an active Restrict Content Pro subscription. And I did the same with PayPal. And of course, PayPal involves scraping because they don't have a good API. So I had to scrape it. Luckily, I already had a lot of that stuff, so it's just copy paste. So I scrape PayPal and get all their active subscriptions and make sure that they are part of the an active RCP subscription. And then I generate a little report like, hey, these are the 2 that you need to look at. and or however many it is. And I actually found one of a person who has been billed monthly since July of 2016. He canceled. Well, it's complicated because so the reason it got out of sync, I believe, is that he tried to upgrade to a yearly plan, but switching from Stripe to PayPal at the same time. And the PayPal thing never went through. So like he started it and he didn't finish it. And so Restrict Content Pro overwrote that he was on Stripe with his PayPal ID, and so then it forgot about it's just like a weird corner case of if he had completed the PayPal payment, maybe it would have finished. It would have canceled the Stripe, but he didn't complete it. But then it I don't know. It's just I don't understand exactly how it worked, but I could see myself writing a bug like that. Just like not thinking through every possible failure scenario. So anyway, I apologized to him, sent him an email, and I went through every payment and refunded it. Luckily, Stripe refunds are really easy. So I just clicked every refund button. Every one was painful because it's like I paid taxes on that. That was income in 2016 that I'm now refunding. And also I have to, I probably already spent that money. I'm spending other money to refund him now. Anyway, sent him an email, apologized. Then I started, feeling like I need to talk to someone about this. I mean, I just needed to complain a little, vent. So I have a Slack group I'm in, and I slacked with them, and they're like, "Ooh, you might want to give that guy something." And so he's like, just give him a free membership for life, I was like, that's a good idea. So I did. And I went back and I wrote him another email like, hey, I feel so bad, I'm going to give you a free membership. And he's like, oh, wow, thanks. I never noticed, but thanks for being honest. And, I really enjoy your content, so I'm going to take advantage of this free thing. So it worked out in the end. And so, that's the kind of thing that I wish I could have done for this guy who disputed, right? But he took matters into his own hands in another way that he's totally in his rights to do. I'm not saying. But now I don't feel like I can make it up to him because he's gone this other route. And it won't have a happy ending. It just has this ending. And I totally understand. There's a lot of companies who won't give refunds, and so that's the only recourse you have is to just go to your credit card and say, that was wrong. That was a bad charge. Please make it undo that. And I try to run my company like a human would. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to charge you. That was a total mistake, my fault. How you would do with someone in real life that you had to be face to face with. Anyway, okay. I also, pretty productive day. I also recorded two videos. One, and this is for the DSL course, Domain Specific Languages course. One video, I'm setting up a TDD workflow where I won't need the integrated REPL, because I want to show people that it's really not that necessary. I mean, you do lose something by not having it, but it's totally possible to have a great workflow with just using an auto test runner, and test runs super fast, probably faster than you can do a keystroke. So maybe you gain something, even if you do lose something as well. And then I recorded another one where I'm converting the interpreter into a compiler. But I had some trouble with it. It's a complicated thing, and I'm also kind of developing the process, and I was using this. You know, I wanted to go into a REPL. Let me put it that way. Even though I had just made this video saying you don't need it, I think the thing is, it's totally possible to do it without a REPL, but you have to do it in a different way. You know how with TDD, like sometimes you're like, I know how to write this, I'll just write it. But no, the TDD way is to write a test first and watch it fail, and then you solve it in this very simple way to just make that test pass, even though you know the code you're gonna write eventually, right? Like there's a process to it, and you kind of have to buy into that whole process. Well, since I'm doing TDD, there's something like that, where it's like, what test can I write that forces me to make this compiler better? Because we already have an interpreter, and the interpreter does exactly what we want it to do, so you have to write a good test. So, yes, I had to... I must have recorded for over an hour, kind of figuring that out. And so now I have a bunch of notes. I'm going to re-record it. It's going to be a lot smoother. But also I don't want to miss the opportunity to make a mistake and then fix it, because I think that those mistakes can be very valuable. So I've got some notes about do this and show the problem with it and then fix it, instead of just doing it like perfect each time. Of course, that means the video should be shorter, because I won't be flailing so much. And you know, flailing is great if it's something that if you're not trying to teach something at the same time. If you're just, if you're trying to like figure out an API, like maybe that's a good use of flailing. But if you're trying to teach what a compiler is and how to convert an interpreter to a compiler, and you just said, yeah, it's actually not hard, and then you spend 20 minutes flailing, it's not a good experience. So I'm going to re-record that today. I've got apropos to record this afternoon. I need to go running today, trying to have a good running habit. Let's see what else. Yeah, that thing about the accounting issue really derailed me yesterday from my plans. I want to have a better habit around content creation. Like I had back in November, I had a very good habit going where I'd write every day, I'd record a new lesson every day. And I just need to get back into that. Yeah. I need to print out a sheet and check it off every day on that sheet, just to keep myself accountable. I also had a good sleep schedule and wake up habit, which I've kind of lost. I've even lost interest in having it. I'm a night owl. I work better at night. But I noticed that the reason I work better at night is because I start to feel awake around 6 to 7 p.m. That's when I feel my brain fog is finally lifted. And so then I start getting into a momentum, and I don't want to lose the momentum, because I know in the morning I'm going to feel foggy again. And so I kind of like to stay up until, midnight or 1 in the morning working. The problem with that is that I mean, there's a lot of problems with it, but one of them is it doesn't fit into other people's schedules, so I have to get my daughter ready for school and bring her to school, and so there's that, and that requires waking up early, and so then it's a question of getting enough sleep. Also, working on the screen or working on something that requires my brain, both of those things tend to keep me from having good quality sleep. So even though I feel alive and working on stuff until midnight, I get tired because it's late and I can't sleep for another 2 hours. Like, I'm lying in bed, I can't sleep. Or sometimes what happens with the screen is I wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning not being able to go back to sleep. And so I sleep best, let me put it this way, I sleep best when I don't work after about 7 or 8 p.m. and I have enough time and I don't work at all, right? Like, I have my brain kind of shut off. That does feel actually really boring because that's when I'm at my best, right? And so waking up early is actually not about so much getting in like work before other people wake up and like feeling productive in the morning and getting some good work in, like all of that stuff. I mean, I do feel that a little bit, but the real benefit that I've never heard anyone say this about waking up early is that it shifts that productive evening time earlier. So instead of feeling awake around 6 or 7 and then having to then start shutting down my mind so I go to sleep, I feel awake at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And so I still have time, and it's like a second wave of feeling good. And so I still have a couple of productive hours in the afternoon. And I've never heard anyone mention that for someone who doesn't wake up until 8 hours into their day, it's actually really good to shift that so that it's a little bit more amenable to getting to bed early. I've never heard that. It's weird though, right? It's like everyone who talks about waking up early just talks about how great it is to be the first one up in the house and bang out a couple hours of work before getting everyone else starts interrupting you. I mean, I do feel that too. I think there's something about the intentional, I get up early and I have something ready to do, something productive. Gets you in a good mood, gets you started well. So for instance, I journal in the morning when I do wake up early. I haven't been doing that, but I journal in the morning, and that helps because I cannot think that well when I first wake up. It's very hard for me to get started, but having a thing that I know where the journal is, I know where my pen is, I know where I'm going to sit, I make myself some coffee, and I just do this one exercise. I don't have to deal with really hard problems. I'm just doing this exercise. It's a good way to get my brain working in the morning and to feel like I've accomplished something with this time that otherwise I would feel is unproductive. And then that carries into the next hours of the day because I'm thinking about what I want to do and what that's what the journaling is about, like what my goals are, and so that carries through. And then so if I get up at 5, like I'm kind of tired by 1 in the afternoon, right? Because that's an 8-hour day. And so I take a break and maybe do some housework, and then I get a second wave around 3 o'clock. And I can get a little bit in, before I have to go pick up my daughter or she comes home. So, yeah, no one ever talks about that part of it. That You're shifting your productive time earlier in the day, so that it fits better with other people's schedule. Usually, I would just feel tired all day, right? Because I would get to bed late because I would feel productive, and then have to get up early and still feel tired because I didn't get enough sleep. The key is actually you should be getting up a little earlier and making everything shift over one. It also helps that I'm working on something that I really care about. So, um, getting up early to go to work on something that you don't care about is not helpful, because then you get home and you're like, all that stuff, like all day I've been working on stuff I don't care about. I want to work on stuff I do care about, but I know if I start, I'm not going to get to sleep early enough to wake up tomorrow and do this stuff again that I don't care about in the morning. It's actually paying the bills, right? So, yeah, work on stuff you like. There you go. All right, I've gone on long enough, and I'm sure that you've had lots of emotional reactions to this, but you know who hasn't had an emotional reaction? The robots. They don't have emotions. Poor guys. Poor girls. They don't have a gender either. So, poor things. Poor objects. Inanimate objects with artificial intelligence. Give them some emotions. Like it. Thumbs up. Subscribe. Give them all the signals that they need to understand your emotions better so that they can help others find this content. Alright, I'm Eric Normand. My company is purelyfunctional.tv, and I'll see you later.